Let's see. I'm taking us off of mute again.
Okay, great. So everyone can see the screen, and can everyone hear me? I can hear you now.
Yep, we can hear you here.
Great. Hooray! And how's the sound quality? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. All right, well, hi, Jody.
Hi, Angela. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. Sounds like you've had a fun morning already. Well, what we have for you is a look at kind of what we're doing on a
We're on mute again.
Roadmap perspective. We really have a lot of products now, so it's really meant to cover all of our products and maybe familiarize you with some of the things that you're not aware of that we're working on. We are going to talk a little bit about what we're doing on the ERP side, but really the landscape of how ERP works today will be very different in the future, so that we can provide solutions that really are easier to implement, easier for one department to say, I need to do this, and for another department to say, that doesn't matter for me, so go ahead and do what you got to do, so that we're not impacting everyone when we decide to roll out, I'll just call it a new module, if you will. And so the idea behind what we're doing is making things easier to install, making things easier to operate on an ongoing basis, requiring less training for users, so that they're not as dependent on someone coming in and training them before they're able to utilize the software, making things a lot more intuitive. These were all things that I think were feedback that we've gotten over the years, but also we see as a trend in what's happening in the market today. Kathy, if you can switch to the next slide, please. Okay, we have the agenda. Yep. So this is what we'll be covering today. We're going to give you an overview of the platform, review the roadmap, and talk a little bit about our development methodology today, because it is very different than how things were done some years ago. So we'll go on to the next slide. So we have, it's easier to probably describe, what we're doing today in terms of disciplines. And so if we were to talk about the disciplines of some functions that we're doing today, we talk about supply chain management. And the three pillars of supply chain management obviously are IT being absolutely core, logistics and procurement, and then the overall operations management. Today, what we would call the sales and operations functions within the systems. As we're expanding that, what we're seeing is more of the virtualization of the supply chain, where people are needing to manage more and more outside of their four walls. So it's one thing to manage a location or to manage a series of locations in your own ecosystem, but what about all the points of entry outside of maybe your control, maybe growers, maybe haulers? And so we're really expanding what that means to have supply chain management. Move on to the next slide. I think everyone in the room is pretty familiar with traceability, but if we just come up with a couple of definitions, we've got the internal, the external, and the whole chain. With the G10 initiative, we're really reaching for whole chain traceability, and now we're starting to see restaurants and retailers decide what they want to do with that information so that they can better understand the transparency within their own supply chain and how things are flowing in and out. But I think everyone in the room's got a really good handle on that, so let's just move to the next slide. Food safety is a very large component of what is on many companies' agendas today. I can tell you that when we're talking to customers and prospects, the food safety side of their focus, of their agenda, is probably more than half of what they're thinking about and talking about and needing to find a solution for different things. Now, food safety, people used to define it as some temperature monitoring and maybe some logs. People are really expanding what food safety means today. It's standards, international standards, as well as industry standards and best practices. So everything from your good manufacturing practices to your good hygiene practices, all of those things are now coming under the food safety umbrella, and those organizations are getting more aligned with procurement than ever, and so they're requiring more and more from suppliers today. And so we have a whole solution set focused around this that we'll talk about. Next slide, Kathy. On the quality assurance side, the way people are defining quality assurance is that the means in which to reduce cost and improve quality. And so it's really something that impacts bottom line. It's the receiving inspections. It's the, the review of product on a continual basis in cold storage. It's all those kinds of factors that people are incorporating in this. We're seeing more and more retailers and restaurants decide that they're going to expand how they're managing quality and attribute that back to something, whether it's their own internal processes or a supplier or a trading partner. So this is becoming a bigger and bigger factor. Next slide. And finally, companies that are on a fast growth track are sharing with us that their standards and their culture really needs to evolve to being able to be able to manage more functions, to be able to expand for the new lines of business maybe that they're obtaining, and just factors and formulas change when people grow and grow quickly. So we're seeing the need for compliance and standards programs and the development of those for many of our fastest growing customers. Some of this has to do with evaluating trading partners. Some of it has to do with meeting brand commitment to the ultimate end customer. And other aspects of it just have to do with better organization, just cleaner and better organization. So this is really a broad area. And I can tell you that if half of people's agenda is food safety, anywhere from a quarter to half of it is compliance and SOP programs. It's a really big trend that we're seeing right now. Next slide. Excuse me. So in the N2N Global suite of solutions, we've now entitled our platform the Global Integrated Food Framework, or GIF. And what GIF is all the solutions that fall under the umbrella of serving any of those disciplines we just reviewed. At the top, you've got our business intelligence, which really spans across all types of customers and all of our products. Just below that, you have the goldish colored bars. And what those are the existing solutions that we have within the quality assurance, food safety, compliance realm. So I'll say non-supply chain solutions. These are solutions that are production ready. They are live and available to customers. As we go just a peg below those, we go into our ERP for our management and something that we're calling kind of our grower portal, if you will. And here what you have are solutions that are production ready and just the review of what they're focused on in the market. Notice below we've got our grower, our processor packer, and our distributor to the bottom. And we really think that these products in green and blue really serve the supply side of the market, not so much the demand side at this juncture in time. And in the purple, these are solutions that we are developing and plan. Sorry, did you have a question?
No, I hit the key, and so it advanced. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Oh, you have to go the other way. You have to go down.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's okay. So So in the purple, these are solutions that we're developing that we have planned releases over the next quarters and years. We have a pretty hefty development team. We put a lot of investment over the last couple of years with having no revenues from that investment for a very long time. It's been very painful. But at the end, you can see that we've gotten a lot of new products now and also have some products that are in the making. In the pinkish and red area are our services group and some of the things that they're providing. This is different than just professional services like, let's say, hiring, Kathy to come and do training or something like that. These are an expansion of our skills on the team to be able to handle IT functions as well as third-party products like handhelds and other equipment. Before we resold it, we would maybe grab a spec and call a vendor and ask them, what the right specs are for a certain installation. Now we're really bringing those resources in-house. What that's allowing us to do is to incorporate the deeper integration with other products. So, if there are features available through a third-party product and we can incorporate them in our software, all the better for our customers. And so it's giving us that richer integration. Notice on the right, we have N2N Global Mobility. It's kind of written vertically. We're putting a big investment into the mobility side of the house. We have a dedicated team just to building out our mobile solutions and have had some initial releases this year in beta and some releases even this quarter. One of the members of the team, has worked for many large companies developing their global platform. One of the things he worked on was, for example, if you have Verizon has their navigation software called Easy Navigator, and this person wrote that software. So very, very experienced on Apple and Android and other platforms, as well as other members of the team that bring in their various skills. The leader of that group is really an incredible individual and brings a lot to our platform. We have started on the mobility side really with our QFSM solutions because QFSM had historically a mobile component to it that really needed to be brought up into the more contemporary mobile platforms. It was on a Windows Mobile CE, as you all know, and with rewriting that entire solution set in the Java, we wanted to get it on kind of more standard platforms and also provide something cost-effective so our customers don't have to pay for these antiquated operating systems and older equipment that they have to buy from Motorola or something. So the mobility is very exciting. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Next slide. From a technical architecture standpoint, we just want to give you a slide that just shows how we're building out the platform. Everything is in the cloud. We are using the IBM Smart Cloud called SoftLayer for our solutions. So we are continuing to go live with more and more instances and of our application in SoftLayer. It's been really fantastic. It's eliminated the need for our VPN and kind of gotten around that. It's made access easier for our customers where they feel like they can access the software from anywhere and have complete integrity to their environment. So that's been really great. We have some, just some base components laid out. We are supporting all browsers at this point. We prefer Chrome and Firefox. They seem to be the most stable. Internet Explorer has been very unstable, and some of the other ones just been more difficult to maintain than I think they've been a benefit to our customers. So we really focus on Chrome and Firefox at this point. Kathy, move on to the next slide. So in familiarizing you with some of what we're doing on the supply chain side, I think you're familiar with the ERP. Our Grower Connect solution is where we'll be putting grower settlements and taking that out of the existing ERP and putting it into a separate solution that has integration points with the ERP, but will provide you a grower portal for your growers to be able to log on and to receive everything from, pack-out reports to term sheets, getting updated statements, And you can even rank your growers and see how one's performing. You can come up with any number of metrics for ranking them, and it's integrated into the system. It's also mobile app enabled, so that you'll be able to, the grower will be able to log in kind of on a mobile app and be able to see, information as needed. In the initial launch of this, these are just some basic features that are being incorporated. We do think it'll evolve over time, but we really want to get it out there and in production and see how customers feel about it, and then start to decide which features make the most sense for the next stage. So, anyways, that's on the supply chain solutions. Kathy, can you go to the next slide? On the quality assurance and food safety front, QFSM, I think you're generally familiar with, but it has really evolved as a solution to do a lot more than was originally designed. In its original design, it was really meant for managing food safety, and it was really meant for things like temperature and metal checks and chlorine checks. It wasn't as much aligned with quality checks. Quality checks had to be organized in a particular way, and for many of our customers, they said it really didn't align well with how they were doing things on paper, and they needed something a little easier to work with. So now we've incorporated a lot of quality management capabilities in there that work a lot more seamlessly than they did before. The audit and inspection side of people are choosing to inspect more in supply chain, and so QFSM gives a lot more visibility into that and managing that process as well. So it's pretty neat. Can we move to the next page? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't cover partner management. Excuse me. Partner management was really developed based on a lot of discussions with various companies in the industry that really shared that they needed a place to intercommunicate with their trading partners. And an example would be a processor that says, I'm getting, vitamin C ingredients, and I'm getting, whole carrots, and I'm getting, apple concentrate, and I'm really supposed to get all of these things from my different suppliers, and I need all their documents and their third-party audits and everything, and I need a place to put that. And every month, I'm having to get updated documents, and this process just isn't manageable on a SharePoint or a network drive or something like that. So how do I get my suppliers to manage?
She's driving.
I'm just kind of curious how she's doing that and seeing the screen. She's got her iPad or
She's
something.
gotta have something up that she's balancing.
Oh boy.
Well, we're losing you.
Yeah, well, they lost it too. Oh, I think that she just faded out.
Cells. For me,
Kathy, we can barely hear her also. We just lost about a minute and a half.
She'll have to start over with partner management.
So, from that,
Yeah, we're off
the
mute now.
basic
We're off
request was born partner management, but since then it's really evolved much more into
Hey, Kathy, can
there
you?
will be tie-ins between.
Kathy, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Angela, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, we missed like the last 2 minutes of what you said because you were very digitized and then you were gone for a second.
Oh yeah, so sorry about that. Okay, I'll repeat. Okay, did you hear anything about QFSM or did you hear anything about partner management?
We need to redo partner management.
Yeah, just partner management.
Okay, that's fine. So partner management was really born out of multiple discussions with customers that said, I'm working with, multiple growers, or I'm working with multiple suppliers that help me create my finished product, and from a regulatory standpoint, I'm required to keep some records for those trading partners, and it's becoming an unmanageable process. With 50 growers or 20 growers, maybe I can do that, but once it starts to get to 100 plus suppliers and different ingredients from each, and it's just not manageable. So things like getting third-party audits, getting certifications, evidence documents to support the ability for them to meet a requirement, and the needing of those documents to be updated because they expire. That process was too unmanageable on things like SharePoint or just a network drive. Many of the people that we have talked to and are now customers said that they have a full-time person that all they do is manage documents all day for supplier compliance. And that was just an easy business case right there. So anyways, partner management started to help this fundamental process of intercommunication with suppliers, the needing of updating records and documents, and to make sure that everyone was in compliance for these laws. Since its development, it has really evolved with great feedback from people and just idea generation over time, where it's now a collaboration environment with suppliers and much more. So what it started at is this kind of document management function has now really evolved into this collaboration area. One area that's different and is part of this roadmap is that we will be in the next year pulling claims into partner management. Is everyone there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
Okay,
We can
all
hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So in that sense, we're able to, and we'll be able to over the next year, for example, establish like root cause analysis of, yeah, I've got a claim. It was because of this particular grower. The product wasn't handled properly, and it started to decay while en route, and now we've got to kind of factor that in. And how do we get a corrective action plan going with this grower? How do we keep records of that? How do we help them not have this problem recur, because maybe we can have some savings by improving processes? And so really that's what it has evolved into now. So I'd say over the next year, we'll be pulling in more and more of those features in the partner management and making the ties between the ERP and the rest of the system. Another area that partner management became highlighted for was lab information. Now, I don't think Gebers deals with this much because you're not doing processed product, at least the last I knew. So certificate of analyses probably don't apply to you very much. If you do have requests for them, it's probably not very often. But in the event that in the future you decide to start juice processing, or you start to do your own spiced apples, or you start to, maybe have a whole practice around concentrates or something like that, the COA platform would be a requirement. It's fundamental for processors. And so it gives you that place to drive information and convey information back and forth between your suppliers and you, and also even your customers. That's part of the roadmap is to have, for example, if you're selling concentrates mops, to be able to have them log in and obtain their COAs on their own, rather than having to have you send them and keep track of what they've received and not received and whatnot. So it has a really nice component there. A major component of this also is product evaluation, and you would call product evaluation an inspection. So that if you're doing some inspection upon receiving, or if you're doing some inspection upon shipping, product evaluations are a big part of partner management. You would be unbelievably amazed as to how many forms these kinds of inspections come in and all the names that they have for them. At this point, we call it a product evaluation, but it is unbelievable to me how many ways people are doing inspections right now. What this platform does is allows you to access through the mobile platform the ability to take pictures and log quality attributes, and then to categorize whatever data you're collecting in a particular way, and seeing how that meets either a specification or a grading system, USDA grade or whatnot, and see how a certain, let's say, a grower or a lot or a region is meeting that trend. So it has I think every one of the customers that's using partner management has that. That's one of those features that kind of everyone uses. So that's probably the more integrated. What we have learned over time is that every customer has a different format, and so that's one area where upon implementation we've just realized we have to customize for each customer. And on a go-forward basis, the plan is to have those as templates, and then you just get to choose your template. So that people could maybe look at other templates and say, oh, that was really interesting, I'd like to use that, or not. It just depends. And then finally, the scorecarding aspect of this. We have talked to a lot of restaurants and retailers, and scorecarding is becoming the way in which retailers and restaurants are deciding to weed out underperformers and to replace them. And we're working with probably about a handful of large restaurants and retailers right now that have given us their scoring system for how they're going to evaluate whether suppliers are going to remain their suppliers or how they're going to be ranked. At one point, I had a discussion with a customer of ours, a CEO of one of our larger customers, and was talking to him about this project, and he said, you know, we need to make sure that we convey to the retail and restaurant side of the business that they can't punish suppliers with this system, and they can highlight, you know, underperformers, but they also have to reward the overperformers. And I thought that was really great advice, and went back and talked with our customers on this, who are restaurants and retailers, and gave them some ideas of how to do that, and they liked it. And so we're really trying to think of the scoring aspect of partner management as the opportunity to have a discussion with your trading partners, you know, maybe growers, and be able to talk to them about how they're doing, what they're doing, what they could be doing better, what you're seeing as a trend across the industry, and how you think they could be doing, you know, better, different than what they're doing today.
30?
Things that get incorporated that are volume.
It's funny you asked that because we're on mute, obviously. She just said, Angela says, every customer who uses partner management. I want to know who the hell those customers are.
Complaints or claims.
Is this BS, or do they get 20 customers using this product?
I doubt they have 20 customers.
Do they have 2? I mean, 1? I don't know.
I would guess that Cheesecake Factory uses it.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because that's why. Who are these customers?
Incident management is something that is really much more aligned for what restaurants and retailers are doing. It's the ability that when you find that some product in your supply chain is tainted for whatever reason, the ability to get it out of supply chain very quick. So it's a crisis communication tool that's utilized to mass communicate to a set population about how and what to remove from supply chain. So of course this would be, you know, for like McDonald's. McDonald's figures out that they've got some tainted meat patties, and they've already sent it out to 300 stores. They need a communication system that communicates to those 300 stores and has them report back and confirm that the product's been destroyed. So I don't think that's got much applicability to the Gebers organization, but just to know that it's there. We have had customers come to us on this, existing customers, and say, could we use this for non-food safety purposes? And one of the examples was a fire. That, you know, what are the instructions that we're giving to our employees about where to go and what to do during this, you know, crisis, you know, acts of God kind of crises. And so could we, you know, load all of our employees in there and send out mass communication with them and have them just check back with us so we know that all our employees are okay? So we actually have a customer that we're working on that project with. They were concerned about earthquakes and acts of God and being able to communicate with restaurants during this time. So that's also an aspect of this. Next slide, Kathy. We talked about Talk with Ed, and Talk with Ed is an education and training platform. We've been really working on this for a couple of years now. The idea behind it is to be able to place content, either videos, even pictures, Word documents, instructions, and to be able to have a place to store those data points that will help your users continually improve their knowledge of your processes in the system. It was originally thought of as a place to put our N2N global documentation. What we realized is, why should we limit that? Maybe there are ways in which you want someone to fill out a travel request or an expense report, you just want to provide those instructions. It shouldn't be limited to how, everything that they're doing in there because it's a large platform. So, anyways, this is something that is in development, been going through a lot of rigor and analysis, but something that is coming in the next year. And then vision, I'll talk about vision momentarily. Kathy, if you can go to the next slide. Keep going. Okay. So as I shared earlier, there are parts of our ERP that have been, kind of sitting on one machine in a body of code for a while, and we looked at it and said some of these features don't seem logical in this place. I don't know if users will even look there for them, or to navigate from this place to that place doesn't seem to make much sense. These things should be more located together. So we are looking at our code and figuring out how to pull out pieces to make sense. One area that we'll be pulling out is farm management. Farm management will be transitioning into partner management. So that way you could add your growers to partner management and then have them upload their records, let's say the spray records, all the entries that they're doing or any harvest planning that they're doing. So they'd be able to access it from their, from their smartphone and be able to upload those entries, and then you'd be able to have them and see what's happening across all your growers for your own records management. The accounting functions that fall under farm management would go into another area. It's just those features and functions for the data entry part of the operations functions would stay in part management. We have our KISS 2016 release that'll be out next year. KISS 2016 is a heavy launch into Java. It'll be an integration of ERP with partner management and our other applications so that they are on a single database or near single database. The parts that we have planned in the initial release of the KISS 2016 have a lot to do with orders and inventory and some of the what we would call the core functionality of the ERP that we know, 99% of all of our customers are using today. That effort is monumental, as you might imagine. We are organizing a big team around it. But the order management, the demand planning, all the WMS capabilities, inventory, those are probably pretty big key components of that. Product lifecycle management is a concept that we have been evaluating for the last 18 months, I would say. And it really is the concept of taking a product from concept all the way to market introduction and then analyzing that for new product and innovation. And it's kind of whenever you see pictures of it, it's really a circle. That is like, how do you go from idea to product introduction to then more products and more ideas and to keep the circle going. And it really has a lot to do with grabbing marketing information and pulling that market research in to develop your final product. One example is when you have a company that's producing a juice, let's say orange juice, and they decide to do, raspberry orange juice or something like that, and how do you develop these new products over time? So that's something that not in the initial release of KISS 2016, but in the minor release thereafter, we do have a plan on having the PLM features made available. As you saw in our chart, we really have the design of the ERP system up to the kind of the distribution point of the supply chain. And there is interest in the market for us to move into more of the supply side, where we'd have integration into things like POS systems and whatnot. So we do have that plan for release in 2017. It'll take us a little bit of time to kind of work with our customers on that and to come up with our initial product, but that is part of what we're thinking about. Next slide. Financial freedom is probably one of the biggest products or projects on the radar, because it is a complete rewrite of a lot of functions. and it's what the payroll solution that we were talking about includes. Financial freedom is really meant to get beyond the confines of our existing code and to be able to incorporate those functions that are happening every day in companies but aren't being captured necessarily in the ERP today. So it's a complete rewrite and a GL enhancement to the solution, and also has a lot of workflow component. So what we'd imagine is, let's just say that there's 1,000 employees in a company and maybe 200 employees are logging onto the operation system because that's what their function requires. They only need to interact so much with the ERP. We'd imagine that with some of the structure that we're putting into financial freedom, that you would probably have more than 70 or 80% of your employees logging into the financial system for everything from trying to maybe print a statement of their W-2 to maybe looking and see what their recent time entries were, to maybe processing an expense reimbursement. So we really see this as a very big project for the company. And, as you know, it's being led by Chris Hageman, and she's got a big team behind her to support her in this. The initial launch will really be around the payroll side, and we're starting there because it seems to be the greatest demand right now from existing customers. Our desire would have been to really go the APA or GL, but it seems to be there's a lot of people that are wanting that payroll integration for a lot of reasons. There will be a time entry component as part of the release. It won't be the initial release, but it will follow on thereafter, and that'll come from our mobility team. With all the efforts around biometrics, one of the things we're researching is how effectively we can incorporate biometrics into the time entry for the benefit of our customers, and how to do it in a very short time. Because of course you can scan everyone's fingers, but then you can have them wait an hour to do it too. So how do you do this quickly and get it done? So these are all things that we're thinking about. Next slide. We're going to skip past incident management, Kathy, if you will, because I don't think there's much there for the Givers team. So as we have gone through and have gotten feedback from our customers, and you can go to the next slide, Kathy. Certain customers have asked us for some automatic document scanning, like some OCR capability, which all of us know that's really old technology, but with the sheer volume of documents that many of our customers have, they're looking to grab some information off those. So we've evaluated an OCR technology, have been testing it for about the last 9 months, and want to do some further testing on the document scanning before we introduce it. There's just failure rates, and we're trying to figure out how to reduce those failure rates. So anyways, that's something that we're working on very actively. I mentioned that the partner management manages specs and grading systems, and so we're going to form templates for what a spec should look like, for, say, for a produce company versus a restaurant. So having some forms, especially the scorecard formulation and scorecard options, all these things are kind of core components and are continuing to get enhanced and are very much part of the roadmap. The core application for partner management is there and is in the market, but a lot of these features are the refining features that have come as a result of feedback. So I'd say the roadmap on partner management is to continue to refine those features. All the major functions have already been included. So it's not as much of a focus of the next year as, let's say, the Financial Freedom Project. Next slide. Workflow as a part of all applications is a big thing because people are realizing that with smartphones, people don't want to read user manuals anymore. They just want to be able to look at a screen and know exactly what to do. And so having workflow built into a solution without any instructions has really been an interesting exercise. So trying to pull those things, like for example, if a claim comes in, what do we want to happen? Do we want to notify that grower that a claim's come in and for what reason? Or maybe a trouble report, do we want to notify those growers? So anyways, should that workflow work? What should the process be? If we're going to accept a discount on an order, what should that process look like? We have a lot of that incorporated in KISS today. The question is, should it be better or different? And so all of those workflow components, making them cleaner, easier to follow, initiating emails, allowing people to click on links and log straight into the software, highlight the decision we need them to make and allow them to log out quickly. And all these things are being built in the background. Languages are a big thing right now. We have a lot more customers with different language requests. We're currently translated into English and Portuguese, and Danish and Spanish were incorporated earlier this year, and we have more language requests kind of in the works. Next slide. So QFSM and partner management will be converging to become one application. That's supposed to happen before the end of this year. It's actually a big initiative. We kind of talked about it quite a bunch. The look and feel of partner management today is a lot different. I shouldn't say a lot different. It is different than the version 7 that was previously available in the Windows platform. We're going to continue to enhance that user experience. We didn't want to make the next version completely different, so we'd have to retrain a very large population of users. So the initial launch of 8.0 was kind of a tweener design of certain screens, and the next launch will be probably a larger redesign of some of the screens to make it continually more intuitive. What we've learned is that many of our customers do a great job in their business, but they may not necessarily have a food science master's or PhD on staff. And so some of the concepts of food safety aren't necessarily incorporated as well as they could be. So we're driving more of our knowledge from our team into the solution to assist customers who may not have that master's degree or PhD on staff. And that is kind of occurring as we speak. The areas of QFSM that we realized were a bit short really kind of circled around the employee scheduling part of the tasks related to food safety. So, for example, if I'm running Red Delicious today, but I'm running, let's say Fuji's tomorrow, are there different checks for those, and have I incorporated those in appropriately for what we're doing? That was a missing component to QFSM that we are incorporating in so that I could actually do some sort of production scheduling, and with that production scheduling, decide which tasks need to happen on that production run. And that'll have ties in, of course, to the ERP on that. I think in these other areas, there's just going to be some tie-ins to production processing. I think that'll probably be the biggest things that'll impact the Gevers team. Next slide, Kathy. So Talk with Ed will have some base content for each of these different products, and we'll probably have a formalized training module for KISS where we have like content for each aspect of KISS. Probably this time next year. That's what we're focused on. It's a pretty big effort, as you might imagine, especially as we're driving the train right now and trying to decide which features we're going to be pulling over initially, and then over time what we'll be pulling over. So it'll be interesting to what we put in content, considering that the screens would actually change. Next slide. We're going to be transitioning to landing pages for each of our products in terms of reports. We have multiple reporting products now that we use at N2N Global. It's not just Cognos. Vision actually incorporates various technologies outside of even the IBM platform. that we've discovered that we said these are easier reporting depending on the user's level of understanding. So vision really is more than just even Cognos today. It's in even the Cognos suite of products. It's really various reporting capabilities. So we're going to landing pages in the next year where you'd be able to click on a reports page and see all the reports that are currently available on KISS, and the organization and enhancement of that today is really where the most time is being spent, because we have a significant number of reports, but need to kind of organize that better for our customers, especially depending on their businesses and how they want to format things. Next slide. So in short, I think we already spoke about Grower Connect, but that we're expecting that for second quarter 2015, so that you'd be able to do, if you are interested, you'd be able to pull your grower settlements functions into the online platform and just give some easier access to your growers and some easier reporting for the same thing. Next slide. So a lot going on in terms of smartphones, of course. Technology is changing, the intelligence is changing. We're not trying in these initial runs to use a lot of the integrated phone components besides the camera and perhaps some Bluetooth accessories. At this point, we're trying to keep it simple because we've noticed that simplicity seems to work a lot better in the production environments. But in short, being able to have these really cheap devices on Droid have just really knocked people's socks off. It used to be the case that we would, have to, quote a Motorola device, and the cheapy devices would break, and people would be really frustrated, and so they'd buy these expensive $2,000 devices, and those days are kind of gone. These Droid devices are $150. You can get them at Best Buy, and we send you the code, and you're able to download it. So we're working on getting into the Play and iTunes stores. So that's in process right now. We've already registered, but we have to go through the clearing process. So ultimately, you'll be able to go into the store and download them. But so far, the Droid app has just been fantastic. It's a completely new look. We didn't take anything from the previous look. It really has blown me away what our designers have done. I mean, they're dedicated user interface designers, so they just have all the ideas in the world, and they're really graphical and know how to incorporate colors and everything. It's amazing. So that's very exciting. The iOS we're focused on for the beginning of 2015. We really wanted to get the Droid under our wings and kind of get that going, and then move into the Apple side of it, just because of the number of our customers that are looking for the cheaper devices and not wanting to spend $8 or $9 on an iPad. We are trying to go to Mobi site, so that way the rendering of the application, if you go through Safari or Chrome, would be easier on the smart devices. But again, using the native tablets as well. Okay, next page, Kathy. And finally, the integration of third-party solutions. We're looking at technology and the speed at which it's moving, and how so many companies are developing so many interesting things that can really do a lot. Looking at things like robotic technology, intelligence technology. We were just at a conference where we were introduced to lots of different mobile technologies that could be fantastic on top of ours. So the couple of things that we've identified and are working on are the IBM Watson, and including the artificial intelligence into doing data analysis and data trending. Of course, we've talked about the handhelds, thermometers, and other Bluetooth type technologies for enhanced data collection. We've come into partnership with one company by the name of Tarati that does
I just had to
production
Google
line
that.
equipment for the
Right.
leafy greens,
Oh, they
the some tree fruits, and grapes industry. And so we've got some effort that we're doing around integration to their products and their integration to our products. But we are working with a small selection of other production line companies to actually get their sensors automatically integrated to ours. So we've got a couple of alignments on that in select clients we've worked on together. Next one, Kathy. So in this new methodology of how we've designed products, we just wanted to give you a look into how we're doing what we're doing. We now have a Chief Innovation Officer, which is me, and I have an organization underneath me that includes product managers, process consultants, our marketing team, all of the client managers, and then all of the technical sales people that support our sales efforts. From meeting with these groups, spending time with them, we develop ideas and ultimately product requirements and work on discussing together. And then Kathy, you have the next slide. And then from there, we finalize that with our product managers to create a set of requirements, and then we work with the CTO organization to get those requirements documented and designed, and then ultimately coded. If we move to the next slide. The CTO organization is quite substantial today. We have a number of people reporting into the CTO. It is 2/3 or more of our staff is in the CTO organization. We've got a number of different architects, development managers, and also developers underneath those people. And then we have different people by discipline underneath the application development organization. So the product managers work with the business analyst. The business analyst puts the requirements, takes them from use cases, writes them into technical requirements, and then works with the development manager to ensure that the internal customer being us, we have our requirements met. We prioritize, if you can go to the next slide, we prioritize features based on a number of issues. We have something called the Change Control Board. We review items with
We were
Change
asked
Control
to be
Board.
part of that, and we
And all
declined.
these organizations work together to make sure that our products are stable and that we're introducing the right products into market. Next slide. So in terms of the roles, in my organization, we control priorities, we control features, and we decide on the release and what will be in certain releases. The CTO controls all the resources. They actually, the CTO organization actually is the one that designs the products. So even though I give them my requirements, it's really to them to decide how it's finalized in the design. I do review the designs after they go through, and the product managers review the designs after they are made. But the designs are approved by the CTO organization. And then finally, the Change Control Board is kind of that balance and check between the two organizations. Next slide. I think in terms of the other areas that we're working on are probably just in these new products that we talk about with the laboratory information management system and some of the other products that we talked to you about. The lab system is something that's come back from a number of the largest companies that we've spoken to that actually have a lab component for doing regular testing of their production environment. Mostly these are processors. So the lab system really started with the COA function and is evolving into, for example, tracking of microscopes, tracking of samples, being able to test shelf life of products. We have a customer that for every production run takes one product off of that production run and stores it on a shelf, and then every day tests the shelf life in ideal conditions for that product. And so tracking all of that many times can kind of fall into this realm. That's the gist of the product roadmap that we can that we've been discussing internally. Is there any questions?
Yeah, we have a few. But just to start, the CTO is Chief Technology Officer. Is that also you as well as the Innovation Officer?
No. The Chief Technology Officer is Ernesto.
Oh, okay.
So it's Ernesto's organization. It's two totally different groups.
Okay, and you're the Chief Innovation Technology Officer, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You mentioned databases. Are you remaining on DB2 for I?
We're remaining on DB2, but we are going to, we are visiting other databases over the next year to see if that is the best database for what we're doing. Because all of our products are going into cloud, there's no longer an administration requirement from our customers for these, so we get away from the platform discussion. What we want then is to make sure that whatever database we're having to maintain is the best database for the solution, and so we are going through an evaluation process. But we do imagine to stay on DB2 for I for an indefinite period, but we do want to ask ourselves continually if it is the right decision.
Okay. And when you say they're going to be in the cloud for your customers,
Mm-hmm.
do you mean for all customers or for your SaaS customers?
For all customers, we're transitioning all of our products into the cloud. We're realizing that this is, from a maintenance standpoint and from an infrastructure standpoint, a majority of the market is shifting to cloud. It's becoming much more standard, and we think that on a future basis that it will be completely cloud. So we are transitioning with that in mind.
With that said, so the vision for the future, if we upgrade to the KISS 2016 version, eventually we would not be hosting the solution on an iSeries here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ask her to describe the transition from where you are now, moving through their releases as they release OP in Java and then grower processing in Java. Describe that transition.
So, if we choose to go to 2016, what is your transition map to take us from where we are hosting the product internally here to the cloud? How do we transition it? Not only how do we transition to cloud, how do we transition from RPG to Java? How does that work?
I think those are all the questions that we're in the process of finalizing over the next year. In short, essentially the application would be accessible through a browser. Today, customers that are in the cloud are going to n2nglobal.com and then just logging into the application through n2nglobal.com. And we imagine that would be the user experience on a go-forward basis. Part of what we're trying to figure out in the next year, Roy, is there's no way, no how any of our customers can be down because of loss of internet. They've got to have that local accessibility. So how is that going to work? And we're not going to put our customers in a situation where, they're not going to be able to have an answer for that. So those are things that we're going to be spending time thinking through as to what is an offline capability that the solution has so that we're not interrupting business. And that has to be part of the design on a go-forward basis. The food safety stuff is not mission critical to commerce. So people can say, well, I can write down a piece of paper and enter it in later. We realize that's not the case with shipping and logistics and all those orders and all those kinds of things. So that's part of what we're working on over the next year.
Okay. So I'll throw this one out. This one is from Brooke. Is the Grower Connect going to have flexible report building or standard templates that would require someone at your facility to modify?
No, we're trying to make users as independent as possible. It will come with a landing page report, and then some of the newer solutions that we're using give you a really nice ad hoc capability, similar to to the Cognos Query Studio, where you're able to kind of just drag and drop things, similar to that.
Okay. Okay.
You're on mute. How does Gebers get from where we are today to where they're going to be 2 years from now? Do we have to wait for the entire ERP to be available in Java? Because
I think every one of our customers that does grower settlements has a
Hold on a
different
second.
format for what they want, so we had to incorporate that in the ideas.
Okay.
hold on a second.
Just hold on one second.
Okay.
How do we get from here to where they're going to be? If they're going to be completely cloud-based and Java-based and etc., and pick a number, 2 years, they have shown us here that they're going to have pieces of the application available in Java. And essentially now, they said that the OP management, order management's essentially available now.
That's what
Okay.
it said.
Do we take a piece at a time? Or is it we wait until the entire thing is so that we can go over?
Okay. As we progress forward, obviously we saw some of the order management was available in Java today. Is it going to be piecemeal? And how do we do one section at a time to Java, or do we wait till the whole thing's in Java? I mean, how's your vision for that?
No, we want you to wait until the whole thing's in Java. We have pieces right now that are outside of Java, and I think that's a little disruptive because you're having to go to 3 different places to kind of look for what you want, and I just think that's not what I want the user experience to be. So what we're trying to do is wait till we kind of have the core components all in place, and so that way we used to build things right by a function, like saying, oh, orders all go here and everything related to orders go here, which wasn't helpful because it didn't factor in that people from different departments might have to access orders, and so we were bouncing them all over the place. Oh, well, for accounting, for gross settlements, you go here, but for your AP, you go over here, but, for any kind of order reports, you got to go over here. So the way we're designing things now is by who the user is. And so that we contain the number of screens that a user has to jump at any given time. We're trying to keep it so that any user only has to see 5 screens max. So what we're building out as is who is the user, and the user experience can stay in one place. So let's just say, for example, maybe you would roll it out to the packing houses, and then
is
maybe
the
you
order
roll it out
management stuff
to
that's
the,
in Java now,
to the
DB2
sales
or
organization.
other
That's
than
how we
DB2?
want to think about it. Not do we roll it out to, do we roll it out by sales orders or do we roll it out by inventory? We don't want to do that.
Okay. Your current Java order management system, is that still based on DB2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's DB2 and I.
Okay. Then besides ourselves looking at payroll, who else is looking at payroll?
People in other industries.
Okay. So no one else in the Apple industry specifically.
Nope.
Okay. What else do we want to ask?
Yeah, they're wanting it for compliance.
We are on mute.
Yeah.
So her platform rollout to Java estimated Q3 2015.
Uh-huh.
Payroll portion
Before.
Q4
Q4
Right.
2015.
So she really wants us to wait and roll into Java as an entire.
Yeah, but that's several years.
So the Java
Q3
payroll,
2015,
obviously we saw that for next
I
year.
don't think so.
the KISS release.
The whole
Would we be able to
Oh.
use the Java payroll before you had the entire KISS system, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
so that piece
It's
is
meant to
something-
be. It's designed that it can operate standalone.
Okay.
So payroll could be.
But it does dovetail with their estimated rollout of
Right.
KISS 2016, the third quarter.
She's on mute again.
15.
I'd have to go to look through the screens again.
Yeah.
When was the entire KISS system available in Java?
Q3
Now, I'm sure-
2015, I wrote
is it-
down.
Q3 2015, your estimated date for KISS 2016 Java platform.
Yeah. For the initial rollout.
Initial
Okay,
rollout.
initial
that's what I
rollout
wrote
Q3
down.
2015. Now, cost structure wise, obviously in the past when there's been a major release, which we haven't had so far, I know in the original agreement that it wasn't, you had to buy the whole thing over again. it was
Mhm.
a percentage of your original purchase price. I can't remember, 20% or something. Is that still kind of the thought process here?
Yeah, the concept is it's going to go to more user-based licensing on an annual basis, and it's going to be more of that the like as paid as a service. So we would incorporate a discounted model for existing clients where we'd grandfather them in on the number of users that they have or that they bought, or we have to figure out how we're equating things, because like I mentioned, the financials, when we originally designed it, wasn't meant for most of the company to log on. It was meant for like 5 people to log on. Whereas in a new design, you may want to have more of your employees log on. So how do we kind of make it so that you're still, you're getting some of that benefit of all your more of your employees logging on. So we're trying to think of all of that. What we don't want to do is hand our customers a huge bill. I don't think that would go very well, and that's not what we want. So we're trying to figure out how the incentive for existing customers is going to work. We haven't quite figured it out yet, but it's going to be service based essentially.
Okay, so more of this SaaS model.
Yeah, it's going to be more that there's a support cost already baked into the pricing, and if you want premium support, you can pay for after hours support or dedicated support lines or any of those kinds of things, and so that's kind of works that way. But the basic support would be incorporated into your ongoing service fee, so you wouldn't have to pay an additional amount for support. This is essentially how that works.
Okay. Now, I saw, obviously a bunch of functionality and a bunch of different features. When I got the email yesterday from Kathy regarding the bill of lading signature, it was $8,500 per year for 50,000 signatures, and then if you go over 50,000 signatures, it's so much going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Are all the features going to be that way, or is it going to be more module based?
No, it's all the features are going to be kind of thought of in a service base, so that you're essentially saying and I'll just use this because it's easy. These are my sales users. These are my administrative users. These are my production users. These are my operations users. And so you kind of break it out by user type, and then you go by that user type. So transitioning from paying for modules to paying for user types. And then in terms of additional service components, like I think the signature thing is probably the one thing in our repertoire that I'm aware of that has its own licensing structure simply because of the way it's designed. But I don't see us doing that with any other product.
Okay. I got it muted.
Oh, I didn't realize that. The company has always been 90% ag supply side customer base. Ask her if she'd be willing to share what their company's client base looks like in the future.
Okay. So, kind of looking at what all you presented, obviously it feels like you're kind of moving away from the ag supplier side and moving more towards I don't want to say retail, but maybe the Walmarts of the world. So what is your vision for your client base in the future?
Actually, we've expanded our client base in the ag side. We're just doing it more in context with what we're learning from restaurant and retail. And we think that provides a tremendous value to the ag side customers because, for example, what we're doing with the retail side is helping them manage their suppliers. So they're telling us what they need to manage. So we're using those requirements in how we design our products on a go-forward basis. So I talk a lot about them because we're really factoring those requirements into the solution design. I think as we've expanded internationally, we just recently gained some of our first customers in South America and in Mexico. They're all ag customers, so we are very ag focused.
Okay.
Take her off mute.
Yeah, it's fine.
They're on mute still.
So does that mean they have like a Spanish version?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
have
have
with
that.
Spanish
multiple
language.
languages.
Yeah.
We have Danish and Spanish now, and they're adding French.
That's a good question, though.
English,
Is that
English.
available in the ERP?
Oh, is the Spanish language available in the ERP, or when will that be available?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be in the KISS 2016 release, but we'll be going to 13 standard languages and to all applications. As you saw some of the 13 right there, but it's all the, English, Spanish, French, Italian, German, Russian, Arabic, and we're also going into Mandarin. We're choosing Mandarin of all the different the Chinese languages. So we're going to the 13 standards across all applications. And what that really means, Roy, is that we've internationalized the solution where we have given people the ability to have a library for their fields. What the tables look like is, think of it as English is the first column, and then for each one of those I can translate in every column thereafter in English. And we've internationalized the solution. So we're starting with 13 core, but if there's a 14th language that, I don't know, some Hindi dialect or something like that, we could put that in because we've internationalized.
I have a question. We're on mute.
We're on mute now.
Okay, so we want to start something today. Like,
Sorry.
we've looked at the design doc for RF receiving. Does the
That's exactly what I was
2016 platform address RF receiving, and do we go ahead with this design, and then how do they get it into Java if it's okay?
Yeah, that's exactly what's my next question.
Tell her that's my question.
Okay. All right. So
I'm just so everyone
Okay.
knows I'm standing outside my doctor's office, so I'm sorry. I actually had a doctor's appointment at 10 o'clock, so I'm on the West Coast visiting my doctor. So
well, good. Well, he can give you
Anyway,
a thorough examination while we're examining you.
Yeah.
Roy, you're crazy.
All right. So the question that we have is as an example now. So we're looking at the RF receiving document, going, we really want to do that now. So we give the approval to do that. Let's say, how does that factor into the KISS 2016? And
the commitment that we're making to our customers that are agreeing to do enhancements now in RPG is that we'll bring it over in the Java release. So, the things that we're designing, let's say in the next year or so, that a customer goes, I really have to have this. We're saying we'll make sure it gets into the Java release.
Because we have, I don't know, literally thousands of hours of potentially of development over the next 2 years.
okay, so we're looking at all kinds. I mean, we've been reviewing. Obviously, the 12 days of demos was a great thing for us, and we kind of went through all of those, and each of them have components that we are very interested in from different standpoints. So we've kind of written out a 2-year roadmap that would allow us to take advantage of a lot of those, and there would be some modifications necessary
Okay.
in that side. I guess the other question I'm asking is, obviously you're going to maintain the RPG staff currently along with the Java staff in the short term?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so if we said, hey, we want to do these 12 things over the next 24 to 30 months, as we got them in, they would be also moved over to Java as well.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then going to the future, the Java versions released, we're on that platform. They will continue to work with customers at what level, how you want to go in and do some other customization.
Okay. So when
what's
we're on
that
the
plan?
right.
What's the plan for future customization?
Okay. So how does the customization work in Java?
It works a lot, I think. Java in general, sorry, I have to go back to someone else's talk.
Okay.
What's she getting out of the car?
The doctor's problem.
Very differently, because I think historically what we've done is We've designed things very specifically for customers, and to the point that almost no other customer could use the designs. And so things became so customized that they just weren't leveraged across all of our customer base. It's not
Sure.
just what we're doing in Java, it's what practices we're putting forward, so that way we can standardize a lot better than we did before. So customization in terms of the Java platform will work differently in the sense that we're going to try, unless things are on an emergency basis, we're going to try to control the releases of customization to a few times a year to help both stabilization of the code and to help in the planning of development. So we might create 2 times a year where we say, hey, in beginning of fourth quarter and beginning of second quarter, that's when we need to do our upgrade releases, and then train people accordingly. So if you have design requests, you need to make it on one of those cutoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And let's have a lot of nice planning and get that incorporated. And that way the discussions around what we're doing and why we're doing it can be had, so that these designs can be more discussed broadly. That's probably the biggest difference. Unless someone says, I have an emergency and I really need something in now, but we really want to get away from that. We'd like to go to more annual planning with customers, get our customers to determine a budget or a scope for the year, and then proceed accordingly.
You want me to ask about the design QA?
I don't know if it's it needs to be asked and answered, but we think
Maybe
this is.
not today.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
Or maybe offline.
Maybe
you know.
different.
Yeah.
All right, we'll
Yeah.
do it on a different format.
I want that discussed in a different phone call.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else you have,
Too
Jody?
many
That you
people
want
on the telephone.
I agree.
Is there anything else you want?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Angela, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Happy to help where we can.
Okay.
So, is there any other questions from the team? Sam, Mariah, Brooke?
Hi, Sam.
I don't know where he's at. He had another meeting, so he might have jumped.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So,
How's the baby? Say hello to Ernesto for me.
Oh, he's good. Unfortunately, he has my cold, which has been a challenge. But he's doing really great. He just turned 10 months.
Yeah. That's good, Angela.
Yeah, thanks. Well, in terms of roadmap, what I would suggest is if you have, based on the 12 days of Christmas, so if you've in these demos, if you have the idea of what you're thinking about rolling out and kind of the order of sequence of what you'd like to roll out, we can take a look at that and see if we can factor that into what we're doing behind the scenes to make sure, let's just say you're focusing on the receiving part of it, and that we're saying is formally going to be part of either inventory or warehouse management. Maybe we say, okay, let's prioritize inventory because that's part of the Givers project and they need to make sure that that's in the initial release for 2016. We can do things like that, so that's perhaps where we can collaborate on these items.
okay, perfect. We do have a playbook that has gotten Jody and Cass's approval. The playbook does include most of those 12 items we reviewed. We haven't said, okay, this is the one we want first, this is second, this is third. But I think there's some synergies in doing a couple of them at the same time. And I think there's some of them that make sense. So we'll try and get that laid out, and we'll try and get you a copy of the playbook that we're looking at and organized in a manner that makes sense that we can discuss.
Okay.
So,
All right,
perfect.
sounds good, folks. Appreciate your time. Take care.
Hey, you get feeling better.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Kathy. Bye.
Bye.
Are we in?
We're done.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.